30 seconds earlier. Hey, we are live. It's the Green Umbrella live lunch. I haven't been here for what seems like weeks for this, so I'm actually quite excited to be back and talking rubbish and getting to that point where I end up in a little bit of a rant and you all look at me like, when's she gonna shut up? But yeah, here we go. This week's live lunch. 4 of us are here. We're going to talk about what we've had going on this week, the changes, the updates that we've seen, social media-wise, and hopefully we'll be live on Facebook, YouTube, and my LinkedIn. But it looks like there might be a little bit of a problem there. I'm going to ignore that big flashing warning that's just appeared on my screen and carry on regardless. So just before I hit the live button, we were just having a little bit of a chat like we do, and obviously, as you know, everyone's working from home at the minute apart from me. I'm in the office, and Emily was doing something which I will let her share, but it just made me think, like, what kind of weird habits have you gotten into that you're going to have to shake before you come back into the office?
Emily
So
can actually demonstrate hers.
Yeah, go on, Emily.
I can't remember.
So part of the reason we do this is so people can get a window into our world. So all those people that think you're really kind of, professional, Emily, what were you just doing on our call?
Cutting my hair. So I have scissors. I've got into a really bad habit. I haven't been able to get to the hairdressers and my hair is driving me insane. So I've got scissors and I was just sitting there just snipping away like this as we were talking, and then I realised that everyone was looking at me very strangely, and I realised it's probably because I'm cutting my hair. But to me, it's just normal now. So yes, that's a major habit that I need to stop. And also picking up this candle, which smells delicious, and I'm always sitting there like this. When I forget people are watching. So those are mine, I think. Oh, I'm wearing slippers.
I mean, I don't know, maybe there should be a slippers at work policy. We want to make sure everyone's feeling comfortable in the workplace. Maybe that's something we should be bringing in because, Mark, you said you're wearing your fluffy slippers too, right?
Yeah, got to admit it. Huh? They are. They're boots, but they are fluffy.
Oh, the moon boots.
The moon boots.
Are there any other weird habits that you think you're going to have to cut before you come back into the office?
There's too many for Emily to list, surely.
For you, I mean, Mark. What about you?
I don't know. I'm sure there are, and I'm sure you'll tell me when I get back.
You'll need to make sure, Mark, that you're fully prepared for work before the working day starts.
What do you mean, like getting dressed and stuff?
Showering mid-morning in between calls.
Yeah, I've done that once, I think, and that was the other week where I was on the phone to Emily and I said, I've got to go now. I've got to go and have a shower. It was about 10 o'clock.
Which showers in the building?
Yeah, that's what I said, yeah. Sort of just come in and you could actually keep the same routine.
You could. It'd be a change, but you could.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I've been in the office all the time, so I've not really developed any. I've not really developed any habits that I didn't have before, but there are some bad habits that, because people aren't around, are just kind of like ruling the roost. So, like my desk at the minute, it's a good job nobody can see it because although we normally try to have very much a bit of an empty desk kind of policy. My desk is far from empty right now. There is just stuff everywhere. But yeah, I'm sure Mark will whip me back into shape with that one. So what's been going on this week? I know Mark and Amanda, we should probably apologise because you two are going to be a bit distracted through this, aren't you?
I know.
Don't know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I thought that was Jason Robinson speaking. Sorry.
So, come on, what's going on? What are you both excited about?
Go on, Amanda.
Well, today, right now, right as we speak, the British and Irish Lions rugby tour squad and captain are being announced. So they are doing a live stream as well. So we've got stiff competition today, frankly. You know, would people tune into Green Umbrella or the rugby announcement? It's toughy.
I'd pick Green Umbrella.
Oh yeah, a lot of people would. So Mark and I
Emily just asked, what is rugby?
Wow.
Shaped ball. Excuse me, sorry, making me laugh. So every 4 years they do this big tour. It's a real biggie in the rugby world, and Mark and I, we were both going to go to South Africa, not together, I hasten to add, but you know, with our respective other halves and families, we were even going to live lunch from South Africa so we could go truly international. So we're a bit gutted, but they are announcing the captain and the squad. So yeah, so we've kind of got that on quietly muted so we can bring you the news live. But there is a marketing link. We're not just going to talk about rugby, because they are doing, you know, they can't do a great big press conference, and you know, sometimes they might do like eve of the test, you know, the night before the test match, or the I don't know, kind of building up to it. They'll do in-person events basically, but of course they can't do that now. Like all of us, they have to do virtual events. So they've been really building momentum on like their Twitter feeds, their Instagram feeds, Facebook, etc. over the last week, where you've had kind of players who've now retired kind of going, I remember what it was like, you know, and you used to wait for the letter to land on your doorstep, whereas now they're kind of, yeah, it's not quite razzmatazz. That's probably not the right phrase. It's not kind of like a big, you know, fanfare, cheerleaders, dancing girls, but they are creating some hype around it. They've got kind of a virtual studio and they're bringing everyone in. So yeah, their marketing team have really embraced the here and now.
Yeah, it was funny because immediately the conversation you two were having was like, which channel, like what are you watching it on? And Mark's like, I'm on YouTube and you were on Facebook, and it's like, you know, where was it live first? Which had the lesser delay and that kind of stuff. And I think right now we're in this world where people are talking about Omni-Channel marketing, which is kind of what we're doing now. So we've got, you know, Paul, as always, bless him, he's there on Facebook tuning in. Don't know if my daughter's in the background today tuning in. Apparently she always tunes in for live lunch, which I didn't realise. But we've got Stephen over on LinkedIn, and actually Stephen's going to be joining us next week as a guest. And one of the things we'll be talking with him about is sort of the tech, if you like, that you can use to sort of stream across different channels at the same time, because we just use StreamYard. And like we don't use any swanky other stuff that sits in between, whereas Stephen is like all over that stuff. So we'll get to go into the techie stuff and the possibilities with him next week, which will be cool. But I think that more and more and more we're starting to see things that you would just expect to see on Sky or BBC, and actually now you're able to see it everywhere on whatever channel suits you. And actually, if we bring that back down into sort of the smaller businesses, it's far more accessible. You know, it's really easy for us to be right now live streaming on YouTube.
Yeah. If we rewind, so my first memories of the Lions tour was sort of 93 and 97. And if you wanted behind the scenes footage, you had to wait until the Living with Lions documentary came out on VHS, basically. So you had to wait for the video to come through months afterwards. So, that would be on your Christmas list, for example.
Emily, do you know what VHS is?
Yeah. Well, I was going to make a comment about 92, 93, but I thought I'll leave that. I don't want to embarrass Amanda.
How old were you then, dear?
Was that the year you were born?
92, yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Oh no!
Sorry, Amanda.
I was on my first kind of non-parents girls away holiday. It was a riot. When I was like, but apart from when I made everyone watch the rugby. But anyway, yes, there was no behind the scenes then. It literally was kind of wait for someone to publish their book or their video. Whereas today, so they've got the live stuff going on, and there will be podcasts galore about it, where people will be kind of interviewing guests, getting their opinions. They will unpick it all on, there'll be loads of talk on social media about it, but they'll be unpicking it all later on Sky News, probably live somewhere as well. So yeah, it's a full-on thing.
Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, back, like Amanda said, back then, I mean, I remember sort of 97 was my first time, but it was literally you watched the game and that was it. There was nothing else around it. Whereas now, you know, it's starting 2 years out, that build-up is, you know, through their social media is sort of creating that hype, creating that interest, you know, all building up in a normal sort of world to a lot of people obviously going out there to the tour and things, but also just, you know, general rugby public just getting interested in it, getting ready for the games. But it is such a different beast now.
But the thing is, again, it's like if we look at the trends in social media marketing, digital marketing, and you know what you guys have just said, and like, okay, so how does that relate back to the people that we serve? We're seeing so many trends at the minute where you know, Facebook it is kind of limited, the people that can access it, but there's like a supporter program where you pay a nominal amount each month, but you get specific content that's kind of like behind this paywall. Twitter in the last few weeks have sort of announced something similar that they're going to be bringing out. Apple Podcasts, again, there's going to be a subscription service there. So if let's say I did my last episode that went out was with Mark Ormrod, maybe I've got like a 20-minute extra sort of, you know, unedited version I wanted to release that just went to people under that subscription. You'd be able to do that. Something called Patreon has been around for quite a while, which again, people can spend, you know, that they can, now, even though we don't ask for it, if people found this of use, they could be giving us money via Patreon if we set it up that way, just as a hat tip, just as a thank you for the content we're putting out there. But even if you go as basic as setting up a Facebook group, so you put your kind of main event content out there, but if you want the behind the scenes stuff, you've got to be part of the Facebook group. Even if there's no sort of monetary thing to it, from a lead generation perspective, it's a really, really good proven strategy that really, really works. And if you think about the tour, like there's all the hype, all the awareness around it. Obviously, you guys are, you know, you're the fans that are, you know, always going to be there and, you know, always going to be talking about this stuff. But essentially, that's what we want to create for our businesses. We take people through the funnel, we convert them, and we want them to be our advocates. We want them to continue raising the awareness and bringing other people back through that funnel again and again and again. So it might feel like we started just talking about the rugby randomly, but there's just so much within what's going on right now that we can kind of really, really bring into just like everyday marketing activities business owners should be implementing.
And it's like you say, it's completely transferable. So yes, Mark and I are rugby fans and this is particularly of interest to us, but any big sporting event, if there's you know, think about when London were kind of awarded the Olympics. I can't remember what year that was, but you know, people was kind of on tenterhooks about it. And if that was happening now, that would be live streamed everywhere. I think it was just a press conference back then. So it translates to anything. Could be a book launch, could be anything. Yeah,
new service, new products, joint ventures. Yeah, tons and tons of things.
Yeah.
So Emily, you're very quiet.
Am I?
So what's your take on this?
Yeah.
Come on, join the conversation.
No, I was thinking just before this call, actually, which is one of the things I was going to talk about, which I guess kind of relates to what you guys are talking about, is I read an article which basically said that YouTube had reported a 49% jump in their ad revenue. So they brought in 6 billion in Q1 of 2020, which was a 49% jump year on year from the previous year before. So I guess it kind of relates to that. And what this article was basically saying is that there's a big increase in the way that people are viewing other forms of video content. So specifically YouTube. They were saying before people would only really look at YouTube on their desktop, then obviously it went to the mobile, and now it's TVs, and a lot of people are watching YouTube predominantly on their TV. I know myself, I only watch YouTube really on my TV now, because I just prefer it. It's like watching TV. Obviously, it's on a much bigger screen. I think it is much better to do it that way. But what it was basically saying is that sort of advertising in that way is moving away from, I guess, the traditional TV adverts. And in terms of marketing and that sort of thing, to advertise sort of on YouTube or via YouTube, you can be much more targeted, and it's much cheaper than it was before to pay to have a 30-second slot on primetime TV or something like that. It was also saying, which is something that we have talked about before, is this is particularly relevant for younger people or children. So obviously with sort of, I guess, the increasing YouTubers and that sort of thing, I think we've talked before, as I said, about how children sort of idolize YouTubers, and it was basically saying that they idolize YouTubers, we have to say, more than they idolize sort of presenters and actors and people like that. So there's sort of a shift in that mindset as well. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was something that sort of everyone can think about, really. Obviously, if you can't afford to advertise on TV, we'll look at sort of YouTube and that sort of thing as well. Because it is much cheaper and it's much more targeted and it's much more popular now, I think.
Yeah, I do think the YouTube ads are giving Facebook ads a massive run for their money at the minute as well. And it's the style of content, you know, video content. There is if you're looking at video ads, if you're looking at YouTube ads, there's some really specific rules, if you like, in terms of how to create a video for YouTube ads that will convert. And so if anyone wants that, I won't go into all the detail now because I'll probably get it wrong, if I'm honest. But it's, if anyone wants the information for that, just drop me a message and I'll send it through, or leave a message in the chat. That was my best American accent. I don't do accents. But
that goes back to the conversation this morning, Emily, in your accents.
I'm very good at
Let's not go there now.
Don't do it. Just don't.
We are live streaming, guys. It's okay if I get into trouble, right? But I need to protect you guys a certain amount. Pretend to, anyway. Cool. Okay. So let's leave the rugby there, because I know there's this, like, I feel like we could do a whole episode just like pulling that apart and sort of saying, like, this is stuff that they're doing and this is what you could be doing marketing wise, and the impact it has on other things like the YouTube ads. But what other things to talk about? So Amanda, you've been webinaring, haven't you?
I literally kind of handbrake turned out of a webinar into live lunch today. So I'm sure by the end of that, I'll be all croaky because I lost my voice. But I was with the fab team over at Iconic Offices in Dublin. And honestly, their community events program, I'm going to give it a plug, because there is literally something for everyone in it. So I was doing a kind of upskill events on the future of social media today. But they have things in there from like nutritionists. So if you're looking at health, you can do online yoga, you can do creative writing. So go check them out. There's literally something for everyone. And we must have done about 5 or 6 webinars with them. We've got one coming up in June on TikTok and video content as well. So if that's up your street, then sign up. I'll be talking about that. But so future of social media, honestly, there was so much content that I had to try and pick out as being relevant, because it felt like, and I just said it just before we came on, I felt like I was doing a live lunch, but being all of us for like the last few weeks. Because I was talking about all the updates that had happened, and I was like, was Emily talking about last week, and what's Mark been sharing? And so because, if you think about all the platforms there are, I barely touched on YouTube, but I talked a lot about kind of changes that were happening with Insta. So the biggies, Insta, Facebook, LinkedIn, that kind of thing. Going live, the Clubhouse app and social audio platforms and their kind of phenomenon that is social audio. So there was, honestly, it was heaps of content in there, and I think I probably overshared on the data Davis side of things with lots of stats, but hopefully it was useful.
Excellent. So let's think about LinkedIn, because obviously, you know, a lot of our audience are business owners, or they're in like a sales business development role. So, I mean, it just feels like there's loads of changes from a LinkedIn perspective. Again, we've had these creator accounts, sort of they're rolling out at the minute. I'm seeing more and more in terms of sort of LinkedIn Lives, more newsletters appearing, that kind of stuff. We've also now, it's not rolled out to everyone yet, but on your profile, you can do like like your profile picture is, your headshot. You can do a little video for there now as well, which interestingly, I got the notification to say that I'd had that feature rolled out literally last week, and I haven't done anything with it yet. And the idea is when you go live, actually your live stream will appear there. And Paul Green's he's commented on Facebook, and he said he can actually see this live stream on the header of my LinkedIn profile. So I'm actually desperate to click over there and have a look at it. But at the same time, I'm terrified that it will be one tab too many and it will mess up my sound and the rest of it. So Paul, if you're able to screen record that or get a screenshot for me, I would love you for at least 45 minutes. So yeah, that's really cool that these changes are rolling out. But probably the biggest one that people have been, I've just seen actually Louise Triance has also WhatsApped me. So I'm wondering if she's WhatsApped me to tell me the same thing. So if so, thumbs up there. And yeah, Louise, you record it too, just in case Paul can't get it. But the other thing, the big LinkedIn thing that people have started talking about over the last week is that, you know, when you send you connection requests, you're trying to build your network and you kind of go like connect with people. Well, actually, they're going to limit that. So you can only do 100 connection requests a week, which feels a bit crazy to like that would be your limit, especially for people that are, you know, trying to build their network at volume. Maybe they're in a new role and they're, you know, trying to get results and that kind of stuff. I haven't seen anything officially from LinkedIn themselves saying this is what's happening, but there's been lots of sort of conversations around the forums and that sort of stuff. So it will be interesting to see whether that is a definite rollout or not. So if you start to get messages that are basically telling you that like you've hit your max already, you can't send any more connection requests this week, I'd love to hear from you to know that it is actually rolling out. And that, because I've seen reports, but I haven't got any hard evidence. No one that I actually know has come up against these things and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it'd be good to hear from you. But let's say that is being implemented. Okay. The reason for implementing a change like that is to stop people using the automation tools. So if you're using LinkedIn Helper, Octopus CRM, you know, Dux-Soup is a tool that we kind of say you should be using for certain things, but I don't like the automation of the connection requests and that sort of stuff personally. But if you are using Dux-Soup for that purpose, this would be the reason why LinkedIn brings this rule in, to stop people doing those automated, those sort of automated messages, automated connection requests, that kind of thing, which I think is a good thing. But how often do you get a connection request? It's just from someone random. You know, it's just because there's a certain word that you've used and it's appeared in your, you know, you've appeared in their search results, and now you're getting that message. And it's like, there's absolute, like, and especially when there is an automated message behind it as well. I get connection requests all the time from, I'm getting really distracted because Paul Green, thank you very much. He's on Facebook Messenger. He's sending me some photos and things, which I assume are what I've just asked for, which is great. But he's putting some little messages like "love you more" and something else, which I won't say on a live stream. But it's properly distracted me. So, you know, thanks. But
that's thrown you off now, hasn't it?
Completely.
Talk about LinkedIn connection requests, and you're right.
Yeah.
loads of them, and I must admit, and often I have to say, I know recruiters are one of our biggest audiences, but occasionally they can be. So I think I've had one. I think they were from, is it Slovenia or Slovakia, asking me if I knew anyone and did I want a job there in marketing. So I'm assuming marketing just came up in a search term, but it's not relevant to me. Maybe I would. I don't know. It just wasn't personalised. I'm guessing it came from some kind of automation tool, but
yeah,
I bet you get way more.
And I talk about recruitment a lot and recruiters a lot, and use the word recruiter. And so I get messages from businesses that are pitching to recruitment agencies. And sometimes I get automated messages from marketing agencies that are pitching to recruitment agencies. And I just think, what are you doing? It's really frustrating, really frustrating. So let's say that this all happens and we can't do things people can't do things in that way anymore. We still need to build our networks, and there's loads of strategies that we've always talked about and that people should be doing. So produce great content, use the right hashtags, people engage, people become aware of you, they'll want to connect with you or they'll want to follow you, and you can build your network that way. But it's also made me think maybe this is going to be the catalyst for us to see a bit of a resurgence in terms of LinkedIn groups. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that one.
I think they're at the back of someone's cupboard getting cobwebby or something, aren't they? LinkedIn groups.
Well, LinkedIn keeps saying over the last 3 years, probably, it's like at least once a year for the last 3 years, we've had reports from LinkedIn about how they're going to, give LinkedIn groups a facelift essentially and relaunch them, and they're going to be better than they ever were before. And if I go back 6-8 years, LinkedIn groups were fantastic. They were absolutely fun from a personal branding perspective, thought leadership. They were amazing. They were brilliant places to get really solid leads, and then they just became a spam fest. And I think LinkedIn were aware of that, but they just kind of didn't do anything to stop it happening. And we've had these promises over the years, but if we really are going to be in a situation where everyone's wings are clipped in terms of building their audiences, because if you send out 100 connection requests, then for all of us, different businesses, you're going to have different stats and how active you are on LinkedIn, what other marketing activities are you doing is going to affect your acceptance rate. So let's say you're in a situation now where the average person can only really expect to build their LinkedIn connections by 80 to 100 people a month because of acceptance rates. That makes LinkedIn a bit of a tricky tool to use all of a sudden if you haven't had the content strategies in place, the engagement strategies in place. Our clients got nothing to worry about because we've been doing it for them left, right, and centre for years and years and years. But like I said, there's a lot of people out there that have just been relying on these automation tools that actually now do have to consider the algorithm, think about what content to produce, be far more targeted in who they invite to connect, when they invite them to connect. So I think it's going to create a bit of a shift in terms of the way people use LinkedIn, if this is something that is happening and rolling out.
So I was mildly distracted there for two reasons. One, my cat is being distracted. She's you can see the birds out the windows and was like clicking and meowing at them, and she's going to dive through the window in a minute. And also, we've gone global. Like, I know we often go global on our live lunch, but we are live to Australia as well, because one of my friends is messaging me on Facebook to say, "Oh, what are you doing?"
I can see you.
I can. So,
does she tune in thinking you were announcing the Lions squad?
No, tuned in late though and kept saying, "What are you looking at? That's just off camera to the right." So that's what I'm looking at. So,
Alan Wynne Jones.
Yeah, so there you go. If anyone's watching and wants the update, Alan Wynne-Jones is the captain of the Lions squad.
And how do we feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the worst kept secret, I think.
Yeah, the man's a mountain, and there's a poem about him that says about how Alan Wynne-Jones will crunch your bones, and nobody can get away from Alan Wynne-Jones. So because he's huge, he doesn't take any prisoners, and people will follow him off a cliff. So he's probably a good candidate.
There you go. You have it. Live lunch.
Unless you were watching that.
So Joe, I wasn't going to talk about it, and I said we were going to leave the rugby behind, but sod it. Is it next week is Mental Health Awareness Week? Is it next week?
It's I think it's kind of a month long, isn't it? Thing?
Or is it the month? Now I've put my foot in it.
No,
okay.
They kind of build up to it. No, you're right. It's next week.
Next week. Okay. See, I know stuff.
You know stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so there is, again, before we went live, we were talking about the rugby stuff and that kind of thing. And Mark, you said there's been sort of people are being encouraged not to, because obviously people are watching this live and then they automatically start tweeting or posting on Facebook and whatever with their thoughts and feelings, because you rugby folk are a passionate crowd. But there's been a lot of stuff that's kind of encouraging people to not tag in the players and stuff like that. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I think it all stems from the social media blackout over the bank holiday weekend as well. So that we touched on it very briefly, I think, at the end of last week's live lunch. But basically to, highlight the fact that there'd been a lot of abuse of players from various sports recently. Everyone from Premiership football, rugby, cricket. I think there was, lots of other different sports that became involved, and literally I don't think they actually posted anything at all from, was it Friday 3:00 or something till the end of sort of bank holiday Monday. And then, I've seen a few tweets from particularly ex-players this morning, saying a similar thing. If you don't agree with the selections, be respectful of, what you're tweeting and who you're tweeting it to. With that in mind, really.
Yeah, I think that there is a like I said, the reason I sort of say, next week's mental health awareness, but with stuff like that, it's just, it's always good to have that reminder, just to, just be kind. Just think about what you're putting out there, and that's probably more on a personal than from a business perspective. But I think it's that, like, these there's going to be loads of people talking next week about mental health related stuff, and it's like, actually we should be talking about it all the time. It should be in the activities we do all the time, and some of it's not about recognizing that you've maybe got an issue and getting help with that. It's about actually just be a nice person.
There's I think as Mark said, it's kind of people from anyone who's in the public eye. So particularly this weekend it was sports, but they were saying you don't need to at people. You can have an opinion, but why would you necessarily tag someone in? So if you kind of were like, well, I think it's ridiculous that at Mark Munding got selected. He's well past his peak or something.
I'm still hopeful.
So, well, have your boots ready. Have your boots ready just in case. So, but there's no need to tag. You can have your opinion, but don't tag them in. Why do they need to know? And I was listening to, so people might know Catherine Ryan, the comedian. So she's often kind of features on a lot of celebrity panel shows. She's got a series out at the moment called something like All That Glitters, where you make jewelry. So she's kind of in the public eye, but she has quite a popular podcast called Telling Everyone Everything, where she kind of doesn't hold back. She gives her opinions. And she was saying that via her Instagram, this guy had got in touch with her, basically saying that she was awful. She put on loads of weight recently. She was really fat, and really slating her. And he had a business profile. He had a construction company. So she was kind of like, okay. So she got in touch with the company basically, and didn't call him out on it, but kind of fake called to say, you know, I need some work done around my house. Would you give a quote for it? I'm a little bit overweight, so I might need some things reinforcing. How do you feel about people that are overweight? Would you ever kind of, you know, sort of have a go at them or slag them off on social media? And this guy's like, oh no, not at all, madam, and all the rest of it. So, and she comes away saying, I didn't have the I didn't have the gumption to really call him out on it, because she said, you know, despite the fact I'm in the public eye, I don't really like confrontation. And also, you know, who knows, it could have been a kid who was responsible for the social media that didn't know any better. But I just thought that was really interesting. So even though people that you think have got so much confidence and would be like, well, I don't care what you think, still, even those little things get to them, and they try and call them out. And to do it from a business profile, I mean, for goodness sake, that's just ridiculous.
Although have you seen some of the James Blunt things? Even if he's not tagged in, he'll sometimes hunt people down to wind them up. He must have some searches going, and he does some really good sort of comebacks at people. They're not like vicious; they're just a little bit snappy, sort of.
Yeah,
to go back. Yeah. And like, there's people going, "How did he see this tweet?" And it's like, well, you made the tweet. You've got to accept that, you know, you might actually get some comeback from it.
Absolutely. It's in public domain, social listening, you know. Did a blog on that a few weeks ago, social listening, all sorts of tools you can use to make sure you pick up on all those mentions. Cool. Okay, so Paul's popped a question in. He said, have we heard of Posto Plan? Not heard of that one. But we'll definitely check it out. There's loads and loads of social media schedulers that have been appearing over the last 12 months. So what I would say is there is an article on the website that's got like our favourite options and a bit of like what we think is best, what, you know, cost wise, what's like the best option, that kind of stuff. But when you're looking at all of these tools, you really need to be clear on what platforms you really need to have a presence on. Use the trials and see what happens when you actually post, because some of them are not using the API, so they're not talking to back and forth with LinkedIn on a technical level. It's like some of them use broken English instead of being fluent. That's probably the best way of sort of describing things. So not all the information you would want to be pushed through to LinkedIn so that you get a really good looking post at the end of it is happening. And that tends to be the case with the cheaper options. Amanda, did you just slurp, or was that Emily? Oh, Emily's muted.
Yes, and I'm very embarrassed.
I always mute if I drink, just in case, for that exact reason.
It's life, folks.
You can't take me anywhere. I don't know if it shows, but I am blushing slightly.
We need to get you a milkshake with a straw next.
No, people manners, Amanda.
At least, like, how many weeks is this now? And like, no one's burped or farted yet. So I think we're actually doing okay.
I think that was the mute for Emily, wasn't it?
Oh, awesome. But yeah, Paul, we'll have a look at Poster Plan. But yeah, like I said, just when you're looking at different options, just be really, really clear. I'm sorry, Amanda. I shouldn't have. I didn't think.
I'm just gonna say that. Let's move on.
Yeah.
No, you've got your new hashtag from Paul now. We'll keep that one.
Anyone watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube, Paul's literally just put in the comments on Facebook, you can't buy class, hashtag Slurping Davis. There it is on screen for you.
So
you know,
I'm gonna do a new page for the snippet.
No, Data Davis, what's that?
This is why.
Awesome. Okie dokie. So we kind of talked about the things we said we were going to talk about. Obviously, Amanda, you just had the social snippet there. So the Maze social snippet, which is our little A5 magazine that goes out to all of our clients and is also available to download on the website. That's there, ready and available. I've just realised Amanda won't have Maze because it's literally one of the ones being posted out. But that's there on the website now.
Any selection?
Yeah, look at them. How nice and branded they look.
They are super, super useful. And last month still has the 3-month marketing planner in it. So if you're trying to figure out your strategy for the next quarter, amazing tool.
Take a look. It's really interesting, actually. The social snippet and that planner is, we get so many people sort of coming back to us and asking, like, when's the next one coming out? Or I actually had a client with the planner kind of said, like, you know, when's it being released? And when I sort of said, oh, we're putting it together at the minute, she then sent me some stuff for us to put in the planner as well, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, no, it's definitely a resource worth looking at, and it's there on the website. There's no data capture or anything like it, so anything on it, so you can literally access it. Don't worry, we won't be spamming you. But yeah, just, you know, think of us when you need something and all that. Put it in the goodwill out there. Anything else been happening at the minute? Anything I might have missed over the last couple of weeks whilst I've been AWOL?
Oh, it's a shame Jane isn't here today. She had some amazing stats on user-generated content last week. And I've been really tuned into that, because I think now, especially with pubs and restaurants opening again, people are really happy to kind of tag in where they're going. So yeah, that whole listening strategy, look out for your user-generated content. So yeah, I can't remember the stats. I should have written them down. Haven't got them to hand, but it's honestly, it was like something like 67% of people, they get leads from user-generated content. So our companies, not people. But yeah, it was really useful.
I think there was quite a high percentage as well of people that trusted user-generated content over branded content.
Mm-hmm.
We had a bit of a discussion about that, and sort of how ourselves, sort of when we go out and buy things, we always look at customer reviews and tags in social media and that sort of thing. So yes, I thought that was quite interesting, definitely.
Cool. And Mark, have you been up to anything in particular that I've missed out on?
Probably not this week, just a mixed bag of different bits, really. So still got obviously some websites on the go. Got a new client, another recruitment client that we're working with. So we're working through some bits for him. And yeah, just a few bits of print, which again we mentioned sort of last week, but that's sort of creeping back in again. So we've had some more sort of print work going through, people getting ready for sort of getting back out there, really. So yeah, sort of standard week, really. Short week, busy week.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of short lead times, I think, over the next few months, as like more people are kind of looking quite realistically now at face-to-face events in sort of like end of quarter 3 and quarter 4. So I think there's going to be a lot of people that are almost like last minute going, yeah, we will do that face-to-face thing, and suddenly needing stuff like print-wise on quick turnaround. So yeah, if you're thinking about it, don't leave it too late, I guess is the lesson there. Cool. Okay. Well, look, shall we wrap it up there then? If we're all good.
Having a short week, I'm sure everyone else has been a bit thrown off as well. You think, it's Thursday already.
Well, no, because no one knows what day it is. It's just luck we all happen to turn up here at 12 o'clock today.
That's so true.
Absolutely. Cool. Okay, so we're done for this week. We will be back again next Thursday, 12 noon. We have Stephen joining us, who is just like, when it comes to all the live streaming video tech, when you've got online events going, he is the person you want in the control room. So I'm sure he's going to wow us with all sorts of bits and bobs and technical things that just like hurt my head, basically. Plus he's a good guy and a supporter of Green Umbrella, so I'm really looking forward to having him join us. But yeah, we'll be back 12 noon next Thursday. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and I hope everyone has an amazing week between now and then. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.